All right, so welcome to today's workshop. As you're trickling in today, if you do have something you want to share about your own side hustle, something that you have tried and you like to do, something that you want to try out. My fun fact, the first side hustle I ever tried was having a candy machine in my mom's hair salon. So I got to pull the quarters out of the back, have that extra cash, and then I would have to use that to then go buy the candy to refill it. So I learned a ton about how much it costs to have a side hustle and keep it going and what profit actually is. So that was from my childhood, which was a ton of fun. But welcome to today's workshop, which is going to be all about how to start a side hustle. This is something I'm really passionate about. I think side hustles can be extremely helpful when it comes to bringing in extra cash. They can also turn into something a lot bigger, something that you do full time that actually replaces your full-time income, potentially a business, potentially help you with a short-term need. So I'm really excited to dig into today's topic. So when we talk about how to start a side hustle, there's really four things that I want you to be thinking about. And this is what today's workshop is going to be framed around. So when we think about a side hustle, we don't want to just take on any random side hustle. We really want to be intentional about how we spend our time and what kind of money we want to make, and then what we want to spend our time doing to make sure we're actually reaching the financial goal that we have in mind. So we're going to cover four main things today. Number one, what is your desired income? How much do you actually want to make, and why do you want to make that extra money? Number two, what is your desired time commitment, or what is your reasonable time commitment? So, do you have only the weekends available? Do you have only your lunch break? Do you want to do this for quite a few hours or only for a few hours? So, we want to think through that. Number three, what are your skills? So, what do you like to do? What do you want to do? What are you good at? What can you make a lot of money doing? Those are the kind of things we want to think about next. And then finally, we want to bring that all together and actually think through how we take all of those pieces, create a plan so that you have concrete steps that you can start working towards. So, again, this is very different than just I'm going to go sign up for Uber Eats or I'm going to go try to take a survey online. This is really intentional money making so that you're thinking, I'm going to do something that's worth it and getting me the money that I ultimately want to make. So, a little bit about me before I dive in. I'm Dr. Annie Cole, and my story really can be summarized in these first two bullet points when it comes to money. So, in my 20s, I was a social worker making $26,000. And then by my 30s, I was in a vice president role and had a $1 million net worth. And all of that is thanks to having so much financial education in my life, amazing mentors, amazing books, so many amazing things that helped me figure out how to do money. So I decided to use all that I had learned and
Mm.
found my own organization. So I founded Money Essentials for Women. It's at money-essentials.com. All of these events are put on through Money Essentials for free. And the goal is just to teach people how to reach their money goals because money goals can be complicated. And as you know, and
Yeah.
I know, there's a lot of pieces in between that aren't taught by financial institutions or by your school. So that's the gap that I'm really trying to fill with a lot of these educational workshops. I also love a good side hustle. So you can see on the screen, these are just a couple things that I have done in my life. I'll share some examples across the workshop today. But I've done all kinds of things. During COVID, I decided I would do academic editing. I had never done that before. Word of mouth spread, and I suddenly had 70 clients within, I think, 2 months. From there, I've done online research, I've taken surveys, I've done contracts through Fiverr and Upwork. I sell my book online. I do financial coaching. I've resold items through Facebook Marketplace. So I've truly done a ton of side hustles in my life. So I hope today, as you're tuning in, please drop ideas in the chat. We'll have some time for Q&A at the end, but I have lots and lots of examples I can share with you on things that I thought were really helpful and things that were not actually worth my time. Because at the end of the day, we want you to only do things that are actually going to be making you the money you want in the time that you want to spend and not going online and taking a survey and making $5. That's just not going to be worth your time. So we'll dig into what actually makes up a good side hustle and how to determine what's going to be worth your time. So before we dig in, I just want to be really clear on what a side hustle is because I think there's a lot of different definitions of this online. So when I'm talking about a side hustle today, I'm talking about additional income stream. So not a primary job, it's something you do usually on top of your job and it's part-time. So that can look a lot of different ways. This could be part-time as in I have another part-time job on top of my 9 to 5. I do freelance work, I do gig work. I occasionally get cash back for something. It could be lots and lots of different things. So we'll break down what those things are. But all in all, we're talking about something you do on top of your 9 to 5 job. And then another thing that I want to point out here, a side hustle can turn into your primary income stream. So it can turn into your full-time work if you create enough income through it, or it can create enough income to actually allow you to quit your job and transition into it. So that's another thing I want you to be thinking about throughout this entire workshop. Is your goal to build a side hustle that replaces your 9 to 5 income so that you can quit your job? Do you want your side hustle to turn into your primary income stream? Or do you want your side hustle to just truly be supplementing your income in a very small way? So be thinking about that. So again, a side hustle might just be supplementing your income either on an ongoing basis. So it's something you say every single month, I'm doing this extra thing to cover groceries and gas money. Or it could be very intentional. A lot of people will take on extra work during November and December just to have money for Christmas presents or something like that. So think also about what is your intention with your side hustle? Is it, I want to have more cash on an ongoing basis? Or is it timely? Like, I'm saving up for a house. So for the next year, I'm going to take on a side hustle because I want to have that down payment. And I'm only taking this on for 1 year. Those are very approaches. Yeah. Jack, did you want to share something?
No, I'm
Okay. No
sorry
problem.
about that.
No problem. Okay, so the four pieces I'm going to break down today before we get started is going to be the why. So what do you want to get out of it? And we're going to get super, super clear on the exact amount of money you want to make because this should be your guiding light. You should have an intention. So, lots of people take on side hustles without a clear goal of a why. And if you don't have your why, you're going to get lost. You're potentially going to get burnout, or you'll make an extra, $100 or something and you'll just spend it and it won't be worth your time. So we're going to get really, really clear on your why. We're going to talk about the how. So that's going to be the time commitment, the frequency, how often are you doing this, all of the pieces that come down to the how. The what is going to be exactly what you want to do. Do you want to do this in a hybrid format? Do you want to do this in person, virtually? Do you want to focus on a specific skill? Is it something you're good at, something you like to do, something totally unrelated to your primary job? We'll break that down. And then at the end, we're going to get into how to actually take all of those pieces and turn it into a concrete plan. So we'll take some breaks along the way so that you can do some active reflection. And then we'll also have some time to share it in the chat if you have some ideas. So to get into the first one, I really want to drive this home. Your why is so important because you don't want to waste your time. Your time is so precious, and there are so many side hustles that are not worth your time. So we don't want you spending hours and hours or your entire weekend just to make a couple $100 that then you spend on something that isn't in your value system, and it just becomes this burnout cycle. So we really want to be intentional about the amount of money you want to make and what you want to do to make that amount of money. So when it comes to the why, if you look at the top right-hand corner, lots of people take the quick approach and they do something really fast, like they sign up for the Uber Eats, or they take surveys online, or they quickly create a Fiverr profile, but they undercharge and don't make enough money. Those are really a recipe for burnout. So you want to be thoughtful about not picking something that isn't in line, again, with your why and what you want to get out of it. So the right approach is knowing exactly how much you want to make and then why you want to make that amount of money. So for example, move my screen around here. Let's say you just want to have some extra money for groceries. That I want you to get even clearer. So not just I want money for groceries. How much do you want for groceries? Do you want to have an extra $200? Do you want to have an extra $500? Whatever that number is, we want to get really clear on the number so that we can then use that to intentionally plan out what our side hustle is. So also connect that why to something that's going to be impactful for your life. So in this example, if you really want to buy organic groceries for your family, or you want to just be less stressed about groceries, that's going to be really, really powerful to motivate you to keep going because you took the time to think about the why. So this is the phase where I want you to start thinking right now, maybe even write down some ideas on what is the exact dollar amount and how will it change your life if you were to make this money. And the reason that I'm really honing in on this why piece is because a lot of people will aim for side hustles to fill a gap, and they don't realize that the side hustle might not be the best avenue to make that money. We'll talk about this a little bit further down in the workshop, but For example, if you need to make an extra $1,000, $5,000, that might be I need to make a career pivot, or I need to actually intentionally try to make a different primary income stream, not just I want to go make some extra money through a side hustle. So that's why we want to think, is a side hustle the best fit for what you need? And then which side hustle is a good fit for that? So in this case, if you just want to make an extra couple $100, that could be a great place to plug in a side hustle. Example number two, you want to save up for a house. So this is a great example of I want to have a side hustle just for a short period of time. This isn't going to be forever. This is just maybe for the next 10 months. I want to make an extra $2,000 a month because ultimately my goal is to have a $20,000 down payment. If I make $2,000 a month for 10 months, I'll reach that $20,000. Therefore, it will help me accelerate my home ownership goal. I can do that for 10 months. So this would be very intentional. $2,000 is potentially going to be a bigger lift for a side hustle. So that might be an additional freelance job. It might be gig work. It might be a part-time job. That's going to be a little bit more intense than trying to get that extra $100 a month for groceries. So start thinking about what is it for you? What's that dollar amount? What's the commitment that you're trying to get financially out of the side hustle? So a couple questions to ask yourself. And again, write some things down if you can right now. Start thinking about your why and get really specific. So, not just, I want to make more money. That can be very vague and hard to stay motivated around. So, the more you can be really specific, if you are saving for a down payment, if you are trying to cover childcare, if you are trying to cover whatever it is, XYZ, write that specific thing down and then translate that into a number. So, from there, how much? What is the dollar amount? Is it only for 3 months? Is it I need to move into a new apartment and I'm going to need a deposit? Is it short term or is it long term? Start thinking about that. And then ultimately think about the impact. Is this going to be a short term goal or long term income? And then, like I mentioned, think about that side hustle versus primary income stream. Is the goal that a side hustle is actually going to fill your need for whatever this number is? Or do you need to be thinking bigger about potentially a career change, a job shift, things that are going to change your primary income stream? So just be reflecting on that, thinking about the role of the side hustle versus the role of your primary income stream. And ultimately, your why is going to be your guide. And we'll talk about this through the whole workshop. So if you want something like fast cash, there's kind of these four categories. So fast cash, I just want $100 this month. I have an emergency. That's going to be, I could maybe take a survey online. I want to do Uber Eats. I could do something that's really immediate. In the bottom left corner, if you want something that's potentially going to replace your full-time income, you want to start a business, that's where we want to create this mini business plan and think about what are the products or services I'm going to sell. In the top right corner, if it's, hey, I actually want to test something out, potentially to dip my toe in for full-time work or maybe for part-time work, that's where you might explore part-time work, maybe even job shadowing or freelance work. And then the bottom right corner, if you're just saying, hey, I need actually massive amounts of income on an ongoing basis, I need somewhere between that $2,000 to $10,000 extra a month just to cover my life, that's where we want to think more long-term planning. So hopefully just from this, you can already see that we really want to be intentional. Whatever your why is should guide what you start doing next. And it's going to take you in very different directions. So your side hustle happiness is directly connected to your upfront planning. You can't skip this step. The more you think through all of the pieces we're talking about right now, the happier you will be. I know a lot of people skip this step and just think they want fast cash, but I'm telling you, the more you can think through all these pieces, the more successful you'll be because you'll know why you wanted to do it, what amount you wanted to make, and then you'll actually have a really clear plan on how to do that. So if you have a really clear plan, you know your why, you know, I need to make either that extra 100 a month or 2,000 a month, whatever it is. Now we want to go into the how. And the how is not, I'm going to do XYZ thing. I'm going to use this skill. We're actually going to be talking about how you're going to spend your time. So we're talking about time capacity, energy, and weekly availability, basically. So how will you spend your time hustling? And here, a lot of times the quick approach is you don't even think about it at all. You just jump into something, you underestimate or overestimate the time it's going to take, and you just burn out. So what we want to do here is we want to know how much time you have available, and then pick the best thing for your availability. So if you have weekends available, is it reasonable to say, I'm going to spend every Saturday for 8 hours doing my side hustle? Is that something you can sustain? If it's not, is it I could spend 30 minutes, 2 lunch breaks a week doing something? So just start thinking, what is my personal capacity? What could I stick with that's actually reasonable? Because the more we overestimate and just say, oh, I'll throw myself into this, the more you're going to burn out and it probably won't be sustainable. So a couple examples you could start thinking through here for the time commitment. What do you have available for yourself to work on? Do you have weekends? Instead of saying I'll work the whole weekend, maybe you say I'll only work Sundays for 3 hours. Or I don't want to work weekends. That's my sacred time with family. That's my me time. I'm going to spend evenings. So I'd be willing to spend 1 hour every 5 days of the work week. Frequency. Do you want to do this 1 week per month? Maybe you decide I want to do project work. I'm going to take on contracts. I'm only going to do project work where I really work intensely with a client for 1 to 2 weeks versus every weekend for 6 months. So those are very, very different approaches. There we go. Sorry, I'm getting a pop-up on my side. I don't know if you guys are seeing it. I'll just prove that. Okay. So yeah, the frequency is going to be very different, right? If you are committing to 1 or 2 weeks of the month where you do something really intensely, or you say, I want to disperse it out, I'm going to do it every weekend for a couple hours. So think about the intensity of how often you want to do this side hustle. And then also the method. Are you willing to go in person? I know someone who during Christmas used to go work at a Barnes and Noble to be an extra helping hand. Are you willing to do something like that for a short period of time? Do you need to do something from home? Do you want to do something where you are being hired by a company, or do you want to be your own boss? Those are going to have very different implications. So start thinking through what the dream or ideal outcome would be for you and your situation right now. So questions to start asking yourself, how much time do I actually have? And again, be really reasonable. If you are so slam busy and you don't have any extra time, again, you might start thinking, is it the best choice to add a side hustle on top of that? Or do I need to think about changing my primary income stream? Or maybe you are in a good place where you have an extra 5 hours a week. So think about the time you have. Think about how often you want to be working on the side hustle. And then think through a couple of these questions. Do you want to work for a company? Do you want to be in person? Do you want to do something that's just gig work? Do you want to create a Fiverr or an Upwork profile? Do you want to do it at home, virtually? Think through the ideal circumstance for you. And then as you start working through this, and you'll find this throughout this whole workshop, we're going to keep all these pieces build on each other. So as you start thinking through number one, you have that why, you have a dollar amount. Now you're combining it with number two. So in the first example, you just want to make an extra $100 a month. You want to have some extra spending money so that you don't feel really, really tight with your budget. And you have 2 hours a weekend. In this case, we can start creating a really concrete plan from there. So in this example, if you just found one project you could do a month that paid you $100, that would reach your goal. Or you might spend 5 hours a month doing something that's going to pay you $20 an hour. So again, we want to get really, really clear, taking the combined things that we want, that dollar amount, the why, and the strategy, and start creating a really concrete plan from there. The second example, you want to replace $4,000 a month in income. This is, maybe someone who wants to quit their job and create their own business. In this case, they are willing to commit 10 hours a week to build out their business and then eventually move away from their primary income stream. So in this case, you might need to make $1,000 a week if you wanted to actually get 4,000 a month, or you can calculate an hourly rate. So in this example, if you worked 10 hours every week, 40 hours a month at $100 an hour, you'd be able to get there. So again, we're starting to work from what's that dollar amount? What's the strategy? What are some different ways that I can add up and start crunching those numbers to get to the amount that I actually want? And then from there, we'll move into the actual what. What are you going to do to get to that amount? So starting with your why and your how should really inform how you take action, which is what we're going to dig into next. Okay, so number three, this is your what. This is actually the bread and butter of what are you going to do, right? What are you going to spend your time hustling to do to actually make this money? So what will you spend your time doing? The quick approach here is to pick something either that you don't like or something that isn't sustainable. So again, we want to think what is actually reasonable as far as amount of money and time, and then what are you capable of doing? What are those things you're really good at? I shared early on one of my examples during COVID. I did academic editing. I don't have a background in academic editing. I've never had a job as an editor, but I have a master's and a doctorate degree, and I have research and APA editing skills that are pretty amazing for the average person because I just happen to have that background. So even though that wasn't something I ever had as a job, I was able to do it as a gig job and do really well and get lots of clients that way. So think, what are some of those things that you are really good at? Either you have had a job in, you've been trained in, you had a one-time experience in, things that other people compliment you on. Think about those kind of things and how you can start monetizing them. So we want to pick something that is sustainable and that you actually like, something that people will be willing to pay you for. So picking the right task for your money goals and picking something that you can stick with. So let's look at an example here. This would be for someone who wants, maybe they're crafty and they want to build out an Etsy shop. So again, we're working from the why, that dollar amount, we're working into the how, the time commitment, and then into the what. So in this sense, this person might want to make $500 a month selling crafts. So now we want to work backwards and think, how could this actually happen? So the how, they only have 5 hours every single weekend to create and sell their crafts. Okay, so what would that actually look like? It would mean, in this example, selling handmade graduation hats. If they sell their hat for $25 each, but the materials cost $5, that means they're actually making a profit of $20 per hat. So at $20 profit, you would need to sell 25 hats every month, which is about 6 hats per week. So in this case, you think, okay, if I need to sell that amount, I need to confirm that I can make 6 hats in 5 hours a week. And then ask yourself, do I want to spend 5 hours every weekend creating 6 hats to make $500? Is that really the outcome you want? So this is how you can start working through all these pieces together from, this is the amount of money I want. These are the hours it would take. This is what it would look like in this scenario with this skill. In this case, running an online shop, potentially having people want refunds. Also, do you enjoy building hats at that rate? Do you like building hats for fun, or do you want to build hats as a business? So as it starts to become reality and you're pulling all these pieces apart, start to think again, is this sustainable? Is this what I want to do? It's also a great way to start dipping your toe in and seeing, do I want to do this for 1 month and see if I really enjoy it to continue doing this potentially as a business or full time. Example number 2, this one is a lighter of a lift. So this person only wants to make an extra $50 a month. They just want some extra gas money. So in this case, very low lift. They only want to spend 1 hour a month participating in research. So one of my favorite websites, if you aren't already on there, I highly encourage you to go. It's called respondent.io, completely free to set up an account. And they basically match individuals from all across the world with research studies that are open. And they pay a pretty good rate. They'll pay like $50 to $300 an hour for you to be a part of a focus group or take a survey. So they're one of the ones that I highly encourage people to sign up for. So in this case, this person wants to participate in research studies. They only need to make $50. So what does this look like? They set up notifications for match studies so that they don't even have to go in there and check. They just get an email when they get a match. They only apply for the ones that are a match. So maybe 30 minutes for the entire month they spend applying. And then if they get selected for just one of them, they make $50 for the 1 hour of participation. So again, we got really clear. This person only wants to make $50. It's pretty low lift. They're going to get notified if something pops up. They might get accepted. This is kind of 50-50 because they don't have control over whether or not they'll be selected for the research, but it's a nice way to just potentially make $50 in a very low lift way. So for you, start thinking about, either write these down or just start reflecting. What are the things you're good at? So this could be your current job, skills that you're using all the time. Could be something from your background, your education, your degree that you're not currently using. What can you teach others to do? What do you naturally end up teaching others to do in everyday life or in your work? What about your previous jobs? Is there something you did in your past that you'd like to bring back up? What do other people compliment you on? What do people say you're really good at? And then what about things outside of work? So your hobbies, are you crafty? Do you have some sort of skill that you're not applying in a monetized way right now? Things that you love to engage with. What do you love to learn about? Do you like to write? Do you like photography? Do you like graphic design? And then from there, how can you monetize those things, which is what we'll get into in the planning phase. So just be really creative. There's so many things you could do as a side hustle. And again, it comes back to how much money do you want to make? What do you want that to look like? How much time do you want to spend? And then what are the specific things you want to be doing to make that money? And then a couple other things to start asking yourself. Do you want to prioritize money or experience? This is really important. So you might do something you don't like because it makes more money, or you might prioritize something you love doing that makes less money. Sometimes they're not competing priorities. But for example, let's say you're really good at website design. It's not something that's your favorite thing to do, but it pays really well. But you could help someone with one website design and make $1,000 a month just for a couple hours. You might decide it's worth it to do that thing because it's going to short term make you the money you need, even though it's not your favorite thing to do because you are really good at it. You're willing to do it. So think about, do you want something that you really enjoy? Do you want something that pays more? Or do you want really the balance in between? And then, are you building a long term business? Are you hoping to actually do something that you can do for the long run? Because in this case, you may have some startup costs and you may have some time where you are just working on sales and marketing, not making as much money up front, but you have the potential to make a lot of money down the road. So, also think about, do I have the financial capacity to pour myself into something for a few months and not make a lot and potentially live off of my 9 to 5 income or some savings, but eventually make more money at something that's more of a business. So think about that. And then again, is the side hustle the best approach? Think about your primary income stream. Should you be focusing on a side hustle or a potential promotion or raise at work, transitioning to a different career field, or maybe doing a job search? So weigh all of those pieces to really pick the best choice for your financial needs. And then I've said this a lot, but doing the exploration work now is going to set you up for success. Please don't jump into a side hustle that you're not sure about just to make some extra cash, because the more you can do the work now, the more you will actually set yourself up for long-term money, which is what we're all looking for. You want to have that stability and more cash for less hours. And the more intentional we can be, the higher likelihood you will actually reach that goal. Okay, so moving into the final phase, thinking about that action plan. So you've already identified all the other
Hi.
pieces. Hey, welcome. So as we put together all of the pieces so far, we're now thinking about an action plan. So this is where you're actually going to think, okay, I know what I want to do. What now? What do I actually do to put it into action? So creating your action plan, again, the quick approach, a lot of people fall into this, focusing on that quick money, skipping the planning steps, just going in and saying, oh, no problem, Loretta. Jumping into something really fast. We want to be really thoughtful to not do that, right? So the right approach is going to be creating a really comprehensive action plan and then revisiting it often so that we actually can know whether or not we're moving forward and we're successful. So I want to take us back to these 4 different quadrants. Think right now, which of these is most aligning with your needs? Are you the top left? You're just looking for fast cash. You want something like Uber Eats, taking a survey. You want cash now, this week, this month. Bottom left, you're trying to create a business or something that's more sustainable, potentially even to cover your 9 to 5 income. Top right, you're just wanting to test out something new, potentially through freelance work, gig work. You're not sure if you want to commit to it, but you know you want to test it out. Or bottom right quadrant, I need more income. I'm actually thinking I need to focus on something bigger than a side hustle because I really just need more income on an ongoing basis. So I'd love to hear, if you're willing, just drop in the chat which one is kind of resonating for you. So take a moment, drop it in the chat, and then we'll move forward from there. Yeah, long-term income. Great, Loretta. Thank you. And that I hope you all are hearing, like, that is so important. In this workshop, I really want to help you learn how to set up a side hustle. Yeah, out of a bad job. Absolutely. Business and long-term planning. Great. And I hope you can see just how different those are, right? If you want to do fast cash, it's really, really different than creating a business plan or creating long-term income, which I'll get into. All right, Shannon, we have long-term planning. Awesome. And I'll let you all continue dropping in the chat as I just share a couple pieces here. So again, if you're in that fast cash quadrant, which it looks like most of us are not, which I think is a good thing. This is usually where a lot of people end up falling, but it's not sustainable. That's where you would just maybe forget all for. I love it. This is where you would maybe try to just, sign up to do something online. Um, so, get those notifications to take a research study, something really fast. That's what we'd be focusing on for the top left. From there, the business one, which it sounds like a couple of us are interested in, this is where you'd actually want to create a mini business plan. And I'll actually give you some steps on how to do this in our coming slides. Long-term income planning. This is where we want to think about career exploration. So I think about this one as combining career exploration with business planning, because if you want to get out of your current job, either we want to explore what's the next job, or we want to think, how can I replace my 9 to 5 income with my own self-employment income? So it's kind of a combination there. And then testing it out. This is where you might do this as an interim to figure out, do I want to start a business? Do I want to do that long-term planning? So it's a good middle step where you want to dip your toe in something because you're not quite sure what direction you want to go. All right, let's see. From Loretta, freedom of my time. I don't want to have a log in and log out. Yeah, and freedom of location. Awesome. And then long-term for Jack. Research website is respondent.io, and it will come up, I think, on the next slide as well. Respondent.io, and also there's one called userinterviews.com. Those are the two highest paying research websites that I highly recommend. I've done plenty of them and made 100 to 300 an hour, so they're well worth your time. Okay, Fast Cash, perfect. I have the websites right here for you. So this would be doing those surveys, that research, something really quickly to make some money. So we have respondent.io, we have userinterviews.com. Usually when you sign up, it's completely free, and then they'll send you anything that matches your profile. And it's anything from a focus group to a survey to a diary study to a product review, all kinds of stuff. So lots of ways you can get matched there. Gig work, this is also great, especially if you have a particular skill. So if you're really good at creating social media content or doing an SEO audit on a website, something like that is really, really good for an Upwork or a Fiverr profile because people are looking for that particular work as a short-term project. So you could always dip your toe in the water, create a profile, say whatever the thing is that you're really good at, and just see if you get any bites. Again, it's completely free to just have your profile there, and then people can find you. Reselling items. This is an easy one. Go on eBay, go on ThreadUp, go on Facebook Marketplace. If you need fast cash, sell something that's already in your house. Earning cash back. This is another one. So if you don't already take advantage of credit cards, definitely use those credit cards. New credit card bonuses, cash back, points, and then saving money. This is also another one that people will skip when they're looking for those fast cash side hustles. Just canceling or pausing things that you don't need anymore. Negotiating a better interest rate on your mortgage or a car loan. Those can be huge if there are better interest rates available. And then also for any cash you have in your savings account, make sure it's in a high yield savings account, which is going to get you on average about 4% interest a year. Cash you're just going to earn from having your savings sitting there. If you're in a traditional savings account, it's something like 0.01% interest. It's super, super low. So high yield savings accounts are definitely the way to go, just to make, again, extra cash for letting your savings sit there. Testing it out. This is where you might be dipping your toe in the water. You're still thinking, maybe I want to do some part-time stuff. Maybe I want freelance work. Not quite sure yet. So for this one, you could start by looking on Indeed and LinkedIn, specifically look for contract work, part-time work, temporary work. You could even do a job shadow. I did this a lot back when I was transitioning from my education career into more of a research career. I job shadowed with so many people because I had a lot of different interests. The way you do it is you just send someone a message. You say something like, hey, I would love to learn. I'm interested in a job that like you have or in this field. Would you be willing to sit down with me for 20 to 30 minutes so that I can ask you about what your job is like? It's also called an informational interview. And you just talk to the person about what they do so that you can see if it's something you might be interested in. So you can either go in and physically do a job shadow, or you can just do this informational interview where you're asking people for feedback on what they do. You can get a sense of, okay, I thought I liked, nutrition coaching, but actually nutrition coaching is mostly writing up lab reports on their blood work. That's not what I'm actually interested in. So it helps you get that real life experience of what a job is actually like. Freelancer profiles, we talked about this, but Upwork and Fiverr, again, free to set up a profile, and then people can come to you and find you for the type of work you do. Or creating your own business, which we'll get into in more depth with the business piece. But if you want to test the waters, the easiest way to do this is just use social media and a Gmail. So you do not need to create a massive website or all of these things to start your business, especially if you're not sure yet and you just want to dip your toe in the water. Create a social media account that's a business account. Start posting content about whatever it is you're interested in. Have a link in your bio that links to maybe a Canva page or something really simple or a free website, and then have your email. You could even just have your email. You don't need a link in bio. You can start there. That's a great way to test the waters and see if anyone even connects with you and is interested in your services. The best free websites, there's a ton out there, but I've used Wix and Weebly. They're both great, and you can just set up a really simple website that we have something online that you can send people to if you want to start dipping your toe in the water. So if you are pretty certain you want to do the business route, this is kind of the flow that I use if you want to create a mini business plan. And again, I'm going to send out the recording of this workshop afterwards, so you'll have this if you want to come back to it. But for a business, we want to think a little bit differently about really intentionally what is the money you want to make and how are you going to make it? And then what are the products and services you're going to share and how can you make this business sustainable? So I want to start really broadly. I think I have an example of someone who helps others build their websites. So you want to think about the problem you're solving. In this case, we're creating websites for people who are not very techy. They're new to websites. They want someone to do it for them. So who are you solving it for? Think about your own expertise area. So in this case, I picked a nutritionist. So maybe you're someone who was a nutritionist. You had to build your own website from scratch. Now you're an expert at it and you want to help other nutritionists who have no tech skills learn how to build a website. You're getting more and more specific about your target audience and how you want to help them. So we have creating websites for newbies, you're solving it for new nutritionists. So how are you solving it in a unique way? So UVP stands for unique value proposition. It's basically how are you differentiating yourself to make yourself more appealing to whoever your customer is. So in this case, you say, hey, I'm a nutrition expert. So I'm not just any website builder. I actually know how to do it for nutritionists and I do it on your behalf. I'm not just going to give you an online course. I'm going to actually build it for you. So that's what's making this person really appetizing to the customer and offering something unique. And then from there, we want to think about features and pricing. So again, we're going back to your why. What's the dollar amount? So in this case, maybe you say, I will charge $2,000 to build your entire website, which includes a home page, an about page, and a contact page. So you start to get really clear about your offering. Think about how you'll sell it. So in this case, maybe the person says, I'm going to have a website that says, set up a consultation with me if you're interested. I do a 15-minute consultation. If they're a fit, I'll offer them to sign the contract, and then we do a 30-day build of their website. And then start thinking about how you'll market yourself. There are millions of ways to do this, but you might want to run online ads. You might focus on website SEO. You might have organic social media content, podcast interviews, media or PR, lots of different ways you can market yourself. But this is just a very, very short mini business plan. But if you follow this and these questions, you'll start to get really clear on how you can turn your side hustle idea into an actual business. And then from there, you'll work through these steps. So once you know what your offering is, do you want to build a free website to talk about your offering? Do you want to create that social media account to talk about your offering? So you can use this to start to build out your next steps. And then this was quite a few of us said we were interested in this. Long-term planning, we want to be thinking even bigger. So this is really starting from the exploration phase. What is it that you like and you don't like? So for career exploration, what do you like about what you currently do and what do you not like? And I want you to be really specific. So is it a financial issue? Is it, I hate what I do every day. I hate everything about it. Is it the field? Under this making a pivot section, I have a lot of specific questions you can ask yourself. So is it, I'm tired of education, but I really love that we're talking about ed technology. I want to move into the tech space. Is it your boss? A lot of people quit their boss because their boss is just not supportive. Is it the position? Do you actually want more leadership? Do you want to step into a position where you are no longer managing others because you're tired of the management piece? Or have you been independent and you want to manage others? Is that what's moving you forward? Do you want more flexibility? I think Loretta said not having to clock in and out. Is it that you're actually looking for flexibility of day, time, number of meetings? Get really clear on what that thing is that you actually want more of and less of. And then from there, getting prepared. So if this is, hey, I've started to think about what I want to do next, I'm going to get my resume and cover letter ready to go. And I'm going to set some goals for every single week, how many applications I'm going to do. Maybe if you feel like you need it, you find a career coach or someone who can help you with networking. So you can use all of this to start building out your actual action steps. So overall, we've talked about all of these pieces. We have the why, which is really what's motivating you and what's that exact dollar amount you want to make. We have the how, which is your energy and time capacity and your method for making money. So how do you want to spend your time? How many hours per week? Do you want to do it virtually? Do you want to do it in person? And then we get into the what, which is what are your skills? What are you qualified to do? What do people say you're good at? What do you actually want to spend your time doing when you're hustling? And then we just talked about the action phase, the planning phase, and what you can do to actually take steps forward. So, what I want to do now, let me check the time. Yeah, we have about 15 minutes left. So, I want to just open up for Q&A. And if you want to come off mute and ask a question, happy to answer questions out loud. If you want to drop them in the chat, happy to answer some questions. I think some of you missed the very beginning. I shared some of my own side hustles. I have done so many things from writing a book, financial coaching, independent freelance work. So if you want questions about what has worked for me, questions for your own side hustle, feel free to ask me those now. And I'll just be ready to answer your questions.
How have you? I'm have started my own freelancing business, but I'm, curious. This is great to see that I am doing all the right things. I followed all these steps, which is really good validation. But now,
Awesome.
how do you maintain it and grow it?
I think it depends on which piece you want to grow. So I guess my question for you would be what defines growth for you? Because I think growth could be I want to expand the products and services I offer. It could be I want to hire a team because I'm overwhelmed with the work amount, or it could be I want to increase revenue or increase lead generation because I'm actually not getting enough clients in the door to even convert in the sales process. So which piece do you feel like you want to grow?
Generation and in the just, yeah, I think it's more in the lead generation and getting more clients in the door.
Okay. In that case, I have a ton of resources on lead generation. I actually have a newsletter. You might be in this newsletter, the How to Get Clients newsletter, where I share a lot of tips on this section on this topic. And what there's really four things you want to do if your focus is getting more leads in the door. First, you want to make sure you have the right product for the right clients. So if every time someone lands on your website, they are really excited and they are converting really well into a paid client, then you've knocked out number one. You're doing great. You don't want to have everyone converting. That would be impossible. But as long as you're having a good conversion rate and quite a few people are interested, that's good. If you're finding that people are landing on your website and bouncing, or they're getting on a consultation call and they're not converting, it might be that you have a mismatch of the right product or the right features or the right pricing. Something is off there. So no amount of marketing and pushing people in the door is going to help with that piece. Once you have that really clear and you know you have the right product, right person, right messaging, then we want to flood the gate with all the people coming in the door. And there's actually 14 different things that I teach people about when it comes to marketing and how to get people in the door. So, one of my favorites is podcasts. Interviewing on podcasts is really great because you're building really deep rapport with people. You're storytelling. People can spend, 30 minutes with you, listening to you, and you're convincing them that you're the expert they want to work with without you having to be present. and then you can talk about your offerings and have links in the show notes. So I do a lot of podcast interviews. If you're feeling like you want to build trust and credibility, I would suggest getting some media features or doing PR to get features in outlets that are really credible so that you can have that trust. Because if people don't feel like you're credible, that could be a piece you want to work on. Paid ads can be great. Again, if number one is really clear and people love the product and it's the right message, ads is just going to get more people in the door. Organic content is also great, blog content. Um, there's so many things. Are any of those pieces resonating or helpful?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. I think for most people, I find that it's either number one, they don't know if they have a match yet, or if it's the right product for the right people, or they're just having trouble getting people in the door. So, do you feel like it's number one or number two?
I think it's number two.
Okay. Yeah, I would think about, and we can follow up afterwards and I can send you a list of all the different ways that I bring people in the door, but there's so many. And then once you get them in the door, you can have, you can use lead magnets, you can have welcome email sequences, you can have newsletters, you can have workshops like this. There's tons and tons of ways. So I can share those out with you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, and then we also masters in communication, would love to work for myself. It's covered my thing. Yeah, it's funny. And yeah, Brianna, I'll share the 14 ways. I can send that out afterwards when I send out the recording. I'll send the list of the 14 ways in case it helps anyone else. I was meeting with someone recently and we did a coaching call where we were trying to figure out what she wanted to do. And her expertise is that she's been in the beauty industry. She's been a writer in the beauty industry for major outlets for 15 years. So that's her expertise. She can write about makeup, skincare, whatever it is. She knows how to get the publicity. Now she's trying to figure out, well, I don't really want to write every day. So what could I do? And we explored so many different options. So we got really clear. She's really interested in lasers, for example, and laser skincare for people who are in their, 20s to 30s and they're thinking, how do I prevent aging? But lasers sound scary. So we focused on that and then we said, okay, how can you get that information out to people? You could do a podcast. If you don't want to produce all the information, maybe you interview experts and then you curate that. You could curate that into a weekly newsletter. You could curate that into a guide. You could write a book. There's all these kinds of things. So the more you start, yeah, I'm going to not share her name for confidentiality reasons. She's still working on her business, but it's just a great example of, you can parse out so many specific things from an interest area. My academic editing, I had just done, I've done so many things with my research degree. I've done analytics, I've written reports, I've helped with grant writing. Academic editing was just one piece of that. So is there a job that you have done, you really want to pull out only one piece of it, and then you could monetize it? But I want to open up we still have 10 minutes. So anyone else, if you have questions, feel free to drop in the chat or come off and I'm happy to answer them.
So Annie, I know that I mentioned in there, I have a master's degree in communication. I've done so many things, over 10 years of sales. And I have so many interests, but they seem to be diverse. Health and wellness is huge, like skincare, particularly anything new, the new innovations in health and wellness and skincare, which isn't directly related to communication, but communication can be communication about any industry.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to move out of where I am. And I had thought if there is somebody who is already experienced in a particular industry, would like some help getting their business going, and it's something I'm passionate about, I thought that could be an opportunity as well. But I've been working at this job and it's so strange. They've been cutting our pay since last year in increments.
Okay.
And it's very strange. So I'm just really want to get out. I've done a lot of investing. And oh, one interesting, I have a duplex that I had purchased, and I looked at my bank account, and side by side was the income earned from my investment property, which I don't have to work at all, next to
Mhm.
job income, which provided me stress and, takes away my time, my energy, kills my lower back. And I was earning more from the income property that I didn't have to do anything for. And
Yeah.
I was earning less. They were side by side on my Wells Fargo account. And it was a real eye opener that
Yeah.
this job thing is not what I need to be doing. So I just haven't found my one thing. I haven't found my particular thing. And I have so many
Yeah.
it's
It's yeah, I think I've been talking with quite a few other entrepreneurs lately about this, and I think there's kind of two things. One, maybe you haven't found the thing yet. For a lot of people, I think it's evolving. They might have one thing. I know for me at one point, I really wanted to be an academic advisor. I was like, that's going to be my job. I became an academic advisor and I did it for 2 years and I loved it. And then I was like, I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life, though. It's not challenging enough. So I moved on. So I think you might have things that phases you move through. I also think to Brianna's question, is it okay to do multiple things? So many people these days are doing multiple things. And if done right, it can be really purposeful and really joy filling. So for me, my husband and I both run multiple businesses. So I'm working on different things at different times. I also have real estate investments. I have created a schedule and a task management system that allows me to do all of these things at once. But you want to be really clear that you're not feeling like a chicken running around with your head cut off and you're just, desperately trying to do a lot of things without doing any of them well. So I would say just do that exploration work. The more you can start journaling and writing down what are the tiny, tiny pieces. Like for me, a company I worked for before, I was their vice president and it was a course creation company. I love building online courses and my degree is in education. So I have actually helped people build pieces of their online courses. That's very, very different than running these financial education workshops, but they're both things that I love to do and both things that I've been able to monetize. So you never know what little pieces, or even within skincare, it's like, do you want to run a business where you teach people about skincare? Do you want to be a representative where you become an affiliate for programs you believe in? You could do all kinds of things.
Well, share my name and number with that she that you mentioned.
Okay.
If she needs assistance. Um, yeah, I really would love to get out of this current job and just do
Yeah.
something that I'm passionate about and that I love. And that I can
Yeah.
grow like what you did, add another business here and there.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely takes time, but it's worth it to figure out those pieces and slowly put them together. Yeah, I'll ask her if she's looking for some assistance and I'll connect the two of you if she is.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then Brianna also said, thank you. What about investing our money and earning from doing that? I that could be a whole other webinar. I actually just posted on our website. We did Investing 101 as a workshop maybe a month or two ago. So in the scheme of things, this is how my book is laid out, and this is also how I do financial coaching. I use 5 steps as a framework to help people with their money. So step one is overall vision. What do you want to do? And that's where we think about, when do you want to retire? What do you want work to look like or income to look like in your life? How do you spend money? What do you spend money on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis? And then what are the things that are meaningful to you? So how do you want to spend your time? What's your value system? After you create your vision, there's the 4 other pieces. So there's vision. Step number 2 is turning your vision into an actual spreadsheet. So we look at the numbers and say, here's what you would need to invest, here's what you would spend every month. From there, we create income streams. So instead of just saying, I'm going to go get a job and then I'm going to live within my means, what if you're really intentional with your vision? You turn it into a spreadsheet of numbers and then you create the income streams. From there, you think about investing, because we can't invest if we don't have income. Investing could be businesses, stock market, real estate, all kinds of pieces there. And then step 5 is really that sustainability. So how do we create lifestyle and habits that support us? So that's what I would say, as far as investing is investing should be an essential part of your financial plan, but you have to have the income to be able to have enough extra to invest. So I could share a ton more, but I'll leave it at that. And then thoughts on AI, use it. Absolutely use it as much as you can. So the example for me for helping someone build their online course, I used AI to build out the course outline. I used AI to build the lesson plan. I created my own unique branded slide deck and I did voiceovers for their videos, but I used AI to create all the content. So yeah, leverage it as much as you can. Do the things that a human does best in your human capacity. Anything else that AI is going to help you accelerate or do better, use it for. Absolutely. Or even for what we've been talking about today, if you're kind of stuck on, here's my degree, here's my background, what all could I do? Have a conversation with ChatGPT about that for 10 minutes, and I bet you'd come up with a lot of cool ideas. Any last questions? I think I have a couple minutes left. And then Brianna says, what is the name of the book you're referring to? Do we need to do? Yeah, so actually here's my book. I did link it. It's just $10 for the ebook and you can just get it through the QR code there. So I have those 5 sections. There is one section all about creating income and it's 86 pages long. I was checking it this morning. Has all kinds of side hustle tips. Also talks a little bit more about starting a business, how to have some good career exploration questions. So I'd definitely check that out if you're interested. Also, I have my website here, Money Essentials. We have tons of other events coming up. They're always free. They're all virtual workshops, free resources. We have blog content, lots of online guides. We also have a lot of one-on-one experts. So like I said, I did that business coaching call with someone recently. We do free introduction consultations, and I have a whole directory of experts you can meet with. So if you want to talk business, you want to talk finance, there's a bunch of people on the website you can connect with. And to your question, Brianna, about socializing, networking, I would say for side hustles, a lot of it you can do independently. The best way to use networking would be if you're looking for a new job or when you're trying to actually market your business. So if I was brand new and I was starting a new business, I would probably network with people on my LinkedIn to say, hey, I'm starting a business in such and such area. Do you know anyone who might be interested in this service? I would definitely throw out those feelers in a way that's not pushy or salesy to the people, but just getting it out there. So I'd say use it more for the marketing piece, and to connect with others. Or if you're looking for a job, definitely connect with other people, either to set up those informational interviews or to connect with someone just to say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Do you know anyone hiring in this area? Just send those messages out. All right, I think we're at time, so I'm going to wrap up there, but please follow up. Head over to moneyessentials.com if you want additional resources. Please come to future events. Again, they're all free. We have so many good topics coming up. If you need anything else, send me a message. All my socials are linked on my website as well. So thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it. And yeah, best of luck in your side hustling. Take care, everyone. Bye.